The ABC understands two members of the Hamze family have been shot dead outside a home in Sydney's southwest this morning. Sydney crime reporter Mark Reddy joins us now. Mark, what can you tell us?
Joe, good morning. Well, you can probably see this huge police presence behind me here. We've got members of the riot squad, organised crime and homicide detectives, as well as general duties officers. Just behind me here is Osgood Street, and just up the road there is the house of Toufik Hamze. This morning, his youngest son, Salim Hamze, went to pick him up to take him to work in construction. Salim Hamze came from Auburn, and when he was outside this house this morning, we understand that a high-performance sports car pulled up. There was a driver in that car. Someone got out of the car and then fired shots into Salim and Toufik Hamze. Salim Hamze, 18 years old, died at the scene. Toufik Hamze was struggling to breathe. Paramedics were here shortly after. They treated him at the scene and he was taken to hospital. We've just had confirmation he was in a critical condition and sadly he has now died. So that news just coming in the last few minutes. What we also know is that there are a lot of residents on this street who've come out of their homes absolutely shocked by what they've heard this morning. We're hearing that there were several gunshots fired, and at a nearby scene there is a burnt out car which is also believed to be linked to this shooting. So as you can imagine, Joe, this is quite distressing. There are a lot of families on this street with kids, and we are seeing some family members of those two men who have died who've also turned up. But Joe, this is quite remarkable given now Salim Hamze and Toufik Hamze have now died. 4 members of the Hamze family have been killed in just over 12 months.
And Mark, this is being described as a gangland shooting. What can you tell us about this reported feud between this family and another family and what this feud is over?
Yeah, so Joe, this all began really in October last year, almost to the day where Osgood Hamze, who's the brother of Salim Hamze, he's the gang leader of the Brothers for Life gang. He's serving time at Guildford prison for murder. Now, Osgood Hamze was shot dead in a similar sort of way outside his home near his car. There was a drive-by, and we know that 2 people have been charged in relation to that murder. And then only about sort of 7 months later, Salim Hamze, who's a cousin, he was walking outside a Japanese restaurant, you might remember, in the CBD at about 10:30 at night on Bridge Street. And as he was walking out, a car pulled up outside, 2 people got out, shots were fired, and then another car was found out burnt out in a few suburbs away. So there is a similar pattern here in terms of these family members being targeted. We know that the Alameddines have also been targeted in a series of shootings over the years. No one has died from that family, but we understand that this feud has so many elements to it. It's about control of these areas. There are talks that it is related to drugs and also the general formation of gangs that we're seeing across mainly Sydney's southwest and west. So right now, investigators will be trying to work out where these 2 men fled in this car. They'll also be talking to witnesses on this street. Crucial to this investigation will be CCTV as they try and identify these attackers.
And finally, Mark, what have police had to say over the last 12 months about all this violence on the suburban streets of Sydney?
Well, Joe, what police have been trying to do, we know that Strikeforce Raptor, which is the anti-bikie squad, was boosted shortly after Osgood Hamze was killed in October, and we saw that squad boosted to over 100 full-time officers. And then, of course, the pandemic hit and we had a series of lockdowns, which obviously has restricted everyone's movement. So we saw generally crime drop over this last period. Of course, the lockdown only ended, a week and a half ago. Restrictions are easing, and now we're having this violence prop up again. We know that the Commissioner, Mick Fuller, has gone through the courts to impose serious crime prevention orders on these families. Now, how they work is that they basically restrict them from going to certain areas of Sydney under heavy surveillance, mobile phones, their movements, and that has somewhat worked, Joe. But look, at the end of the day, people are still moving around. Police can't be everywhere at one time, and now we've seen this violence escalate again. So no doubt this will be a major concern for Strike Force Raptor. And what we saw last year too was the home of Maha Hamze, who is the matriarch. There was a drive-by shooting there. Now, she wasn't injured, but one of the bullets actually went into Auburn Hospital inside the window and narrowly missed a nurse who was caring for a patient. So that's what really sparked this concern about, innocent members of the public potentially being caught up in this violence. So no doubt this investigation is still in its early stages, and we will be hearing more from police later when they hold a media conference.
Yeah, and no indication of a time on that just yet?
Not at this stage. I've just spoken to some officers here. They expect it to be in the next few hours. Of course, they are right now actually talking to a number of residents, and once they get all that information, we will also hear about just the injuries and at least some of the circumstances leading up to the shooting.
OK, Mark Reddy reporting there from Guildford in Sydney's west.